Hi everyone, this is Crystal, and today I am working with the sketch for this week from Citrus Twist Kits. This is the sketch right here. Of course, you can find it on the blog if you want to print it out for yourself or save the image. It is a 8.5 by 11, or it could be 9 by 12 styled sketch, but I'm going to do a 12 by 12 page. I am going to use this photo, which was from a Thursday 3. I have my journaling already printed out. I want that to be hidden on the page, so I'm going to need to make some sort of hinge with this photo. And then I've also grabbed the number 3 from the ephemera pack from the Life Crafted kit, thinking that will serve as the large number maybe, but I do think I might move it to the other side so that I can use the title Thursday 3. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to turn out. I have both the Life Crafted and the add-on kit that I'll be pulling from, so I'm just going to put you on fast forward and get started. I'm going to start by going through the papers in the Life Crafted kit. I was pretty sure there was a couple in here that I really wanted to use. I'm thinking right now that my color scheme is going to be pulled directly from my photo, which is basically the black and white of my rug and the blue of my pants, and I plan to stick to those colors. So you can see I'm just pulling out ones that kind of work with that color scheme. The cut aparts, thinking maybe there are some blue ones on there I can use, and then I'm not really choosing any black and white papers. I'm mostly choosing gray because I want the photo to stand out and I don't want it to end up looking too busy or too graphic. So I kind of stick to those tones of gray, and you'll see here in a second, the tone of white in my photo is not really white, of course. So those kind of off-white colors that are in the crepe paper, black and white papers, and in that text paper from the Life Crafted kit really work with this photo. So I end up using both of those on this spread. And then I'm just kind of looking for other things that are in those tones of blue. So I don't know if you'd really call it a monochromatic spread. I guess maybe it's a monochromatic spread. Yeah, just trying to stick in multiple tones of blue and then kind of grays and whites and off-whites. So here, I tried to put a white border around my photo, and it was just not working because it's really not white. It works much better with these kind of off-white tones in these other two papers. So I'm going to start with that text paper. I am going to work out the layers that I want behind my photo, so the order that I want the papers to go. The sketch has a bunch of different layers behind the photo, so I'm just working out which order I want these papers to go in, and then I can start kind of trimming things down. So like I said before, I need to have a hinge behind my photo so that I can hide my journaling, since it's rather long. I didn't want it to take up too much space on the layout. So I just used my mini score tool and scored about 1/2 inch down from the top of this paper. That ends up being a little bit too big. I trimmed that down here in a little bit, but I wanted to have plenty of room because I plan to stitch that to the paper that goes behind it. So I'm just kind of working out the layers, and I wanted to say that when I'm working with a sketch like this, first of all, I really love working with these sketches. I think that especially the Citrus Twist Kit sketches, I think they push me in a direction that I wouldn't go on my own. They force me to kind of look at things differently and try something new, and I always end up loving the end result. So I really do like working with the sketches. So, but I do get a little bit, I have a moment usually where I'm a little bit nervous about making sure I cut everything to the exact right size. And then eventually I just say, no, it doesn't have to be exactly right. It just needs to be close. So what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is that I trim something too small and I have to make it work, or I have to grab a different paper to use instead. That's not so bad when you think about it. So I end up just kind of cutting and not really measuring. I did get out a ruler just to get a rough idea, but I didn't really measure. I kind of marked things a little bit and then just cut because that's way more fun than stressing about exactly how big the papers need to be in comparison to the sketch. So you may have noticed there I did have my photo upside down, and because it's on text paper and the text needs to be the right way up, I did need to move that around, but that is not a problem. The adhesive I was using is removable temporarily, so I was able to just turn that around and then get it in the right spot and get all those papers trimmed down. So I'm just kind of dry fitting how this layout is going to go together. Nothing is really adhered yet because I need to stitch my hinge to the paper behind it before I can really start adhering anything else to the page. And this is something I've been doing a lot more lately, is kind of starting from the top and working down and then having my clusters all adhered together before actually adhering anything to the page. And I'm really kind of enjoying it because it lets me really see exactly where things need to be on the page to get them centered. I used to have that problem a lot where things would not end up centered, and I'd have to, trim off part of the page and add something on the other side to kind of make things look centered again. But if I adhere everything together first before sticking it down, then I don't really have that problem. So just something I've been doing a lot more lately. I don't think it works for every page, but certainly did for this one. So I'm going through the ephemera now from the cut-apart sheets and the Life Crafted kit and just pulling out anything that I think might work. Sticking to those tones of blue again. I thought for a second I might use some yellow as an accent color, but I decided no, there's enough different tones of blue on this page that I'm just going to stick with that and then the neutrals. So again, just looking through everything, and then here in a second I'm going to go away to my sewing machine to get that hinge, and I also stitched down the journaling behind it. So there it is. There's my little hidden journaling, and you can see it is not centered. I did not get it centered on the page, but that's totally fine. I will make it work. Since my embellishing is going to be heavier on one side than the other, it totally works out. So I decided that I wanted to add some dimension behind that entire piece just to give a little bit more interest to the page and help my photo to stand out a bit more. So I just grabbed some fun foam and cut a big piece to go behind that entire layered piece, and then I can glue that to the page or the piece of paper behind it and get that centered on that larger piece of paper. Like I said, I'm building my layers here from the top down and not really adding anything to the page just yet. So I really liked the little pop of gray at the top and bottom, but I didn't want to use that entire piece, so I just cut off little strips and glued them both to the top and bottom of my little cluster here. And that way I still have some of that paper left, and you totally can't tell that it's not just one continuous piece. I added a little tag to the side of my photo, the little flip up piece there. And I just cut off the bottom of it because you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. That means there is, I don't cover the back side of that paper. It doesn't bother me to have that tag there and the 3 sticking out. It just wasn't worth it to me to try and cover that up. It's all white, so I'm just leaving it as is. I did really want to include this blue cut-apart piece from one of the Pink Fresh studio papers, but I didn't like how square it was, so I just decided to use a paper punch and punch it into a circle. And you may have noticed it was too small to fit into my punch, so I just glued it temporarily to a little piece of scrap paper, and then I was able to hold on to it and get it punched perfectly in the right spot. So since I have that circle, I brought in another circle from the ephemera, and I'm creating a cluster at the top too. This sketch has a little label up there, but I really wanted to include that Tangled Heart cut apart piece from one of the digitals this month, and thought I would just create a little cluster around it so that it didn't look out of place up there by itself. And then I'm also working on those layers at the top of the page, the strips at the top of the page. So I'm going to do that now, get those exactly where I want them, get those stitched down before I glue anything else to the back of the page so that I don't have to try and stitch with all of these other layers already adhered. So now I can start gluing things down. That circle needed to be a bit lower than I wanted it, just so that it didn't interfere with the hinge, but that's totally fine. And now I can also start embellishing the underside of my page, right? So I leave the top part white. It's totally fine with me that it's all white, but I wanted to add a little bit more here at the bottom of my journaling. So I found that label sticker from the Pinkfish Studio stickers that were in the add-on kit, and I feel like it needs just a little something else there. I end up going with one of these phrase stickers from that same sticker sheet, and I can't remember what it says right now, but it was in the same colors as I had already used on the page, so I thought it worked perfectly. There was another one in those same colors. I think it says stay home. I tried to get it in a couple different spots on this page, but it doesn't end up working. I end up using a couple of these puffy stickers instead. So now I can start adhering this layer or this cluster at the top of my larger cluster. And again, I'm going to adhere it to the cluster, not to the page. So that way I can see exactly how much space this entire huge cluster is going to take up before I adhere it down to the page, and I can get it exactly where I want it so that I have room at the bottom for that little bit of stamping that was on the sketch. And I think it was journaling, but since my journaling is hidden, I end up doing some stamping and make sure that it's not too close to those top layers as well. So because this is a big bulky layer I'm putting on the page, I use some heavy duty double-sided tape from scrapbook.com, which I have been using a lot lately for this purpose because it just works so well and adheres down all these pieces all together. And then I can just add a few finishing touches. I do add another puffy sticker here at the top in that cluster to bring in some of those more minty tones that I have at the bottom of the page. I looked through the rest of the embellishments to see if there was anything else that I thought would really work well here. There was a chipboard piece that I really wished I had included, but there just wasn't room for it anymore. I am going to add a few enamel dots in the 3 places where I have embellishment clusters around my photo. And then I will do some stamping as well in a couple places. So there was this is the stamp from the Life Crafted kit. And I think there was one that said Beautiful You. And since this is a Thursday 3 layout, I thought that would be an appropriate stamp to use. And then there was another one that said something about chaos. And I use it at the top. Or wonderfully chaotic or something like that. I don't have the layout in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it's from that stamp set. And yeah, I just added it in that little niche there at the top. And then the last thing I need to do is add my title. Of course, I had moved that 3 up from where it was in the sketch, so I didn't have the same place to put my title that I thought I would have. So while I'm adding it to my Thickers alignment tool, I'm thinking I have no idea where this title is going to go. And then as soon as I moved it over as a unit over the page, it was obvious to me exactly where it needed to go. And then I just stuck it down immediately, and that's it. So the last thing I'm going to do is just add a few splatters. There were some splatters in the sketch, and I felt like a little bit more black would be a great addition to this page. And as nervous as I get when splattering with black, I just went straight for it and decided to just give it a go. And of course, the splatters never go exactly where you want them to and are never the size you want them to be, but that's just kind of part of the messy fun of it, isn't it? Okay, so that's it. That is the page all done. There are a bunch of close-up photos coming up. Be sure to stop by the Citrus Twist Kits blog to check out the post there and get the sketch for yourself. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, that you found some inspiration for using your own kits. If you haven't already picked up the kits, unfortunately the Life Crafted kit isn't available, but the scrapbook add-on is, or at least it is while I'm recording this, so you can go pick that up in the Citrus Twist Kits shop, which I will have linked below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you back here soon.